If you are wondering whether you'll be able to return a gift to a shop, then this video is for you. But first of all, if you're just joining our legal community, don't forget to subscribe, because if you've got questions of your own, then it means you won't miss out on future videos. And make sure you stick around to the end of the video for a bonus tip that you can apply in almost every aspect of your life. So we've all been in the position at some point or another where we've bought a gift for somebody and we're not sure whether we'll be able to return the gift to the shop for a refund. So in this case, I'm talking specifically about physically buying something from a shop rather than buying it online. I cover that in a separate video. Now, the general position is this: when you buy goods from a shop, you've had the opportunity to inspect those goods before you leave with your purchase. Therefore, there is no automatic right to return to the shop with the goods to insist on a full refund. There is certainly no statutory right for you to do that, unless, of course, there is something wrong with the goods. But let's say there's nothing wrong with it, you've just bought it as a gift and the person doesn't like it and wants to return it. One of the simplest ways around this is to ask for a gift receipt. This usually means that you can return to the store with the goods, but you'll normally have a credit to spend on other things in the store. But what about the position where you buy something that's very expensive, say from a luxury retail brand, that it's highly unlikely you're going to want to buy anything else from that store for the same amount of money? So to look at a way around this, we need to look at contract law. So very briefly, a contract is where there's an offer, acceptance, and consideration. In other words, everybody gets something. You get the goods and the shop gets the money. And within that contract, believe it or not, every time you buy something, you are forming a contract with the shop, because there's the intention to create legal relations, because you are giving money and they are giving you the goods. It's a legal contract of exchange of value. And within that contract, there's going to be what we call express terms. Those are usually the written terms of the contract. Now, ordinarily, you get a receipt. There are no terms on that receipt. They are usually contained within the shop's website or even in a booklet or something like that. Secondly, there's what we call implied terms. For example, there might be an act of parliament that implies terms into each and every consumer contract. For example, the Consumer Rights Act of 2015. There are lots of terms implied into every consumer contract in that scenario. More on the Consumer Rights Act in another video. But for the purposes of this particular situation, one way that you might be able to ensure that you can get a full refund for a gift that's unwanted or unsuitable is to have the conversation with the shopkeeper and get them to confirm that they will allow a return for a full refund. In this scenario where you've bought something that's very expensive but turns out to be unsuitable and want to return it to the shop for a full refund, if the shop refuses the refund, then you may well be able to sue the shop for the full refund on the basis that there was a term in the contract that was agreed verbally between you and the shopkeeper. Now, whilst it would be far better to have this written down, it's unlikely that the shop is going to agree to it being written down, but they are more likely to agree with it verbally because they're trying to get the sale from you. Now, in the event that at the point of sale, the shop has agreed for you to return it for a full refund, in the case that it's unsuitable, but then when you go for the refund, the shop is refusing to give you the refund, then so long as your witness evidence will be sufficient to convince a court that you agreed this with the shop, then the court may well uphold that as a term of the contract and essentially order the shop to provide you a refund. This is exactly the scenario that I have argued in court as a barrister. The court upheld as a term of the contract that the shop agreed for a full refund in the event that the goods as a gift were unsuitable. In its judgment, and in this case it was multiple thousands of pounds worth of goods, the court ordered the shop to provide a full refund for the goods. So just remember, in the event that you're buying a very expensive gift and there's no returns policy save for an in-store credit, but you want to make sure that you can return it for a full refund, you ought to get this agreement with the shop that allows you to return it. Now, whilst the shop is unlikely to write it down as an agreement that you can return it for a full refund, perhaps they will. Some shops do have that as a return policy, let's say for 30 days for a full refund. But if the shop only provides a return policy for an in-store credit, you may well want to try to create your own term of the contract that allows you to return it for a full refund. And now for that bonus tip I mentioned. If you wanted to record your conversation with the shopkeeper for your own personal records, you are permitted to do that as personal recordings are exempt under GDPR. So long as you don't plan on publishing it anywhere later, you can refer to your recording later in the event that you might end up going to court. You could set out in your witness statement that you made a recording of the conversation and you've made your witness statement based on the contents of your personal recording. It may be the case that the court would want to hear that recording as evidence in court, but that's down to the court to decide, and the court has discretion as to the evidence that it hears. I have had cases in family law where recordings have been made and the court has wanted to hear the evidence of the recording so that the court can hear exactly what happened to make a determination of fact. So the next time you're buying an expensive gift for somebody, I hope this video turns out to be useful. Give it a thumbs up if you found it useful. Subscribe if you've got questions of your own and you don't want to miss out on new videos. And make sure you hit the bell icon. That will alert you every time I release a video. In the meantime, thanks for watching. See you next time.